Right then, of course, this is the first time we've heard from US Soccer after MLS announced that it will just be playing its next generation team in the US Open Cup next year. This was the response. Major League Soccer has requested to allow MLS Next Pro teams to represent MLS in the 2024 Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. After thoughtful consideration, the request has been denied. Now, MLS then responded to this with a long statement. Major League Soccer believes that there are several essential goals and concerns that must be addressed in connection with the tournament, including developing young professional players and providing them with greater opportunity to play before fans in meaningful competition in a tournament setting, prioritizing player health and safety, reducing schedule congestion for MLS clubs, and enhanced investment from US Soccer. MLS is committed to finding a viable solution for the 2024 tournament and is working to find a pathway that addresses its goals and concerns. Moving forward, MLS will remain focused on increasing opportunities for up-and-coming players, a key component of the league's player development strategy that ultimately benefits the US national team program. It's a man who's getting a massive lump of coal from MLS, considering what he's been saying of late about the decision regarding the Open Cup. Is with us now, Sebastian Salazar. Does their response to US Soccer make sense, in your opinion?
Does US Soccer's response to Major League Soccer's act make sense? Is that what you're asking?
Both.
Yeah, I think the US Soccer response is a little bit surprising, but the correct response, and I'm pleased with it. The move from MLS here to pull out of the Open Cup was very clearly a move against a U.S. soccer asset. And so the only thing that U.S. Soccer can do there is simply reject, these reserve teams from joining the tournament. I think in that regard, U.S. Soccer could have been much more harsh here. There could have been a much more nuclear option to go after Major League Soccer's Division I sanctioning, per se, because as part of the rules in U.S. Soccer, you have to play in the Open Cup to be a Division one team or one league. U.S. Soccer didn't go that route, and I think the response from Major League Soccer is equally measured. I think there's a lot that you can nitpick in the response. Are they worried about teams playing in the Open Cup for fixture congestion? I don't know. They invented Leagues Cup. They didn't seem that worried about fixture congestion then. Are they worried about the quality of the competition? I mean, this might sound harsh, but the quality of competition in Major League Soccer is by no means beyond question. So I think the reasoning that MLS has put out makes you question kind of why they did this in the first place. But I think, as we know, as we've seen throughout the years, certainly on this program, we covered the Super League effort quite a bit in depth. Money talks and money rules, and beyond that, control. And the bottom line here is the Open Cup is run by U.S. Soccer, and it's not run by MLS. And MLS wants to be, playing in competitions that it controls and where its teams are monetized to the max.
But something needed to be done, didn't it, Seb, to Open Cup? Obviously, it was a product that was difficult to sell. It wasn't getting the ratings. It wasn't getting the crowds. So how do you fix that?
Well, certainly not by pulling the first division out of it. I mean, right? The great thing about the Open Cup, and I know football fans around the world appreciate this, but in American professional sports, we don't have anything like this. We don't have David versus Goliath. And if you take Goliath out of David versus Goliath, it's a pretty boring storyline. So I think, of course, the federation has to look at how it runs the Open Cup, and MLS can evaluate its participation in the Open Cup. But for MLS to say this competition isn't good enough for us when much better leagues all around the world participate in their respective domestic competitions is especially rich. And then beyond that, and this is pulling back the curtain a little bit, but the folks who have been marketing the US Open Cup for the better part of the last 2 decades is a company that's owned entirely by Major League Soccer. So if MLS wants to say, well, there hasn't been investment in this tournament isn't good enough for us, you can only turn around, look in the mirror, and blame yourselves. That's the problem here. Yes, can the Open Cup improve? For sure. Does more investment needed? Do they need better sponsors? Do they need better TV deals? Of course all that stuff goes hand in hand. But you're not going to get any of that with Major League Soccer pulling out the first division of the Open competition. I mean, it kills the US Open Cup if you don't have the first division teams in there.
If it's Copa del Rey, if it's Carabao Cup, teams go out and we know they don't play their first teams.
Right.
Why did MLS feel the need to come out and make this statement when MLS sides always had the choice, didn't they, to play a strong side or a not so strong side? Why make this move?
It's a very good question, Dan. It's a very good question. I think what the league would tell you, and again, I don't believe that this is the real reason, but I think what they would point to is what they call brand confusion. And they've got some examples of it, like LAFC playing in the early rounds of the Open Cup last year. They're basically using all academy kids or developmental roster kind of slots. They're not the first team players, what we would think of as the first team players. They want, less games for those first team players. They want to eliminate some of that fixture congestion for the top level guys who they're going to have to deal with in union negotiations. That's kind of the idea. I think what would have been correct here is to, as you say, keep it status quo and allow the teams, each club individually, to decide just how important this tournament is. And this was not unanimous, within Major League Soccer. I know that there were clubs that were not on board with pulling their first team out of the Open Cup. Now, at the end, majority rules, we know how things work, but I think that we're going to have to get to a resolution here, and it's probably going to be more something like what we saw in the past than an Open Cup without Major League Soccer teams. Because as I mentioned, that's very problematic for the federation when it comes down to their rules.
Are you in the majority or the minority with these thoughts, Seb?
I think of people who care about American soccer, I'm in the majority. I think the sad truth here, and a little bit of what MLS was maybe hoping would happen, is that there's not enough people overall that care about American soccer to make a real noise about this. I think what we've seen is that there has been quite a bit of noise, even beyond like soccer shows. You guys will know the name Dan Patrick, famous sportscaster, ex-ESPN guy, has his own show now on another platform. They were talking about it on his show, a mainstream sports show where they never talk about soccer. So this is crossing over in a way that, frankly, very few MLS topics outside of Messi do. So people are very angry about this right now. And unlike other things, Dan, where people can be angry and then it goes away, there's a body here that can act and is showing that they're at least willing to take that first step, the federation. So by saying that MLS Next Pro teams can't play, the rules are MLS has to be represented to keep that Division I status. So MLS is going to have to come back to the negotiating table, to the bargaining table here with U.S. Soccer at some point in the next couple months and figure this out.
Take it easy, Seb. Take it easy.
Thank you very much, Seb. What are you doing to relax over the holidays?
Breathe.
Not going up to Connecticut and seeing those guys.
Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. More from Seb and Herc on the latest edition of Football Americas, which will be available for you tomorrow.